So I am going to black out my screen, I think, until we get started.
Okay.
Because I've got a couple of things to do here. Oh, okay.
Hi.
All right. Okay then. I'll keep my mic open so we can talk if we need to.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. All right, everybody, good morning. It is 10:30. We're going to get started with today's workshop. Today's topic is megatrends. I'm Laura. I'm going to be the one that's kind of managing your questions. You can put them in the chat or in the QA. You can also raise your hand and we can unmute you. Throughout the workshop, Al will pause and we can address some questions. And then at the end, we should have enough time to answer more questions. Later today, you will be getting an email from SCORE Akron that will be giving you the slides from this workshop. So, Al, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's go.
All right, take it away.
Here we go. As Laura said, we welcome questions at any time throughout the presentation. Ideas, thoughts, comments are always welcome. Just for time planning purposes, this webinar does not run the usual 45 minutes. It runs a little short of that. So that says we have plenty of time for questions and comments and thoughts and sharing. As I put this together, the purpose was to step back and look at what's going on around us in maybe larger terms than we're used to. It's the old forest versus the trees problem. And sometimes we get so caught up in what's happening in day to day, we miss what's really going on around us. So I picked a couple of things that are big changes going on in the world, just as a way of stepping back and looking at the world a little differently. So with that thought in mind, the first thing we'll do is I'll start the commercial on SCORE. So SCORE is a national organization, been around since 1964. It's a resource partner of the SBA, or the Small Business Administration. There are 10,000 volunteers like myself, spread across over 200 chapters throughout the U.S. We're not international, we're only in the U.S. And we do two things. We provide training programs, we call them workshops, which is what we're doing today. And we do workshops on starting your business, business planning, marketing, financing, understanding the finances and balance sheets and income and expense statements. So we do a lot of them. And if you go to our website, which is akron.score.org, you'll see a list of the ones that we're currently planning to put on. The other thing we do is we do one-on-one mentoring. So we do training programs and we do mentoring. And what we've found that people that are mentored by SCORE tend to do much better if they start a business. Some choose not to, which is also valuable, make that decision. But if they do start, they tend to be much more successful, not only in the short run, but in the long term. I'm sure you've heard numbers about businesses that go out of business after a very short period of time. In my 12 years here with the Akron SCORE organization, to the best of my knowledge, we have not lost a business. And that's just because you've got somebody that's going to help and guide and move you in the right direction, somebody that's been there and done that. So I speak about the Akron office. We have about 50 experienced men, women, young, old, that have been there and done that to help be your guide throughout your journey to start your business. We have over 5,000 clients since we started in 1965 in one of the early chapters. And our chapter serves the 5-county area of Mahoning, Medina, Portage, Summit, and Wayne counties. Most of the chapters, except in the very large metropolitan areas, serve multiple county areas. Now, as I said, we do two things, and our mission in those two things of mentoring and training is to help the small business communities. We just help them be successful. And our bold vision is that every person, every business has the support they need to thrive. That's bold. We've been at it since 1965. I don't think we've reached every business and every person, but we're still working on that. So that's SCORE in a nutshell. As we move to thinking about trends, if you do what everybody else does, according to Kennedy, conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of success. And I always liked John F. Kennedy. I thought he was just a brilliant orator and had some really good things to say. So if you don't notice the trends, they're going to wash right over the top of you, and you're going to miss them and miss maybe a business opportunity or personal opportunity or some kind of opportunity that you could have had if you saw that coming. And every good surfer that sits out there on the ocean knows that you've got to look way out into the ocean to see that when the wave is coming, to catch that wave. So they're looking for trends, they're looking for waves. And I think it behooves us in our personal lives and business lives to just keep a weather eye on what's going on so that if there is a trend coming along, we can participate in it. According to Dick Clark, famous of Bandstand and dropping the ball on New Year's Eve, said, I don't set the trends. I just find out what they are and exploit them. And he was very good at that in terms of music. He would find great new stars and bring them into American Bandstand. That might be their first big day. And then he would just be known for attracting talent. So he was, again, looking for trends, changes in music, and was very successful at it for many, many, many years. So today's mission is to make you think. Step away from the day-to-day for a short period, half hour, 45 minutes, and just think big picture. And maybe then come back to our day-to-day and say, well, how does that make a difference in the way we think about what we do today and tomorrow? So there's a lot of trends going on. I picked a couple that I thought were particularly exciting. And the list is down the side. I said you'll get the slides at the end of the presentation sometime today. But we'll talk about each one of those in turn. So first of all, let's talk about the disappearing middleman. Traditionally, you had somebody that sold something. You had a broker in the middle that would broker the deal. You had a customer that wanted that product, wanted that service, wanted that knowledge, but didn't quite know how to go about it. So they'd go to the broker. Classic example is travel agents. Travel agents had that direct connection to the airline. They had the computer. The airlines had the computer systems, gave them to the travel agents. Travel agents had all the information about cars and hotels and airlines, and they could book that for you. You would call up your travel agent and make reservations. And that's how it worked. Insurance, when I first got my first car and my first insurance policy, my dad walked me down to his insurance broker, and I bought my car insurance through his broker because I didn't know anything about insurance, and the broker had all that knowledge, and he knew all the insurance companies and could set me up with the best deal as a 16-year-old driver. So that's how it used to work. Today, that is not how it works because that middleman, that broker, is slowly disappearing. In the case of the airlines, you made that the travel agents disappeared in a very short period of time, almost overnight. So you've got travel agents where you go directly. Travel agents are gone, so you go directly to insurance agents are a disappearing breed because you can go directly to Esurance, Aetna, New York Life, the General, lots of places you can go to buy insurance online. You don't need that broker. In the old days, you had to go through some kind of an agent to get to the book publisher. Today, you can publish directly. Amazon, Apple, Smashwords are places you can do direct publishing. And I said, travel agents, disappeared very short period of time. Now you can go direct to book Airbnb, you can book hotel, car, airline with Kayak, TripAdvisor. So that middleman is now gone. So if you think of any business that currently has a middleman and ask yourself, is that position sustainable? And I would suggest that in the long term, it is not. It may sustain in the short run, but in the long term, it will not. And I hope none of you out there are real estate agents because my prediction is that you're the next to go. We've got with Zillow and all the other online places you can find a home. As I talk with some of the younger people, they say, we don't use a real estate broker for anything but putting the deal together. We go find the house, we look at it, we decide where we want to be, and then we talk to the broker to just kind of close the deal out. It's only a matter of time till that all gets automated and all gets done through the internet so you can actually buy a house, tour a house, see a house without ever having to go through a broker. So I think that's the consequence of the disappearing middleman. Another huge trend that's been going on quite a while is people are foregoing ownership for access. So it used to be the product was out there, I'd buy it and I'd put it in my inventory. So I'd have a whole library of books that I would read. I have movies, DVDs that I would watch, music that I would enjoy, a bunch of, I still even have some 8-track tapes laying around. I have my photo album that I would have, and I could pull it out and open it up the book and show my wedding pictures and my trip, my my summer vacation, uh, even my house and my car. I own them. Today, people are foregoing ownership just to get access. So books I get free online at the library. I can read them on my tablet or my smart device. Movies, I've got Netflix. I don't own any movies anymore. I watch Netflix when and where I want. Music, iTunes and others, Amazon Music. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you don't have to own that library. I just want access to it. My photo album I keep on my phone. Nobody buys a car anymore. Everybody leases them. You never hear about a car company talking about buying a car, the price. They all talk about the lease price, how much down and how much a month. And with housing the way it is, a large home developer, builder developer out in the Midwest actually bought a huge plot of land, uh, built houses, and they are now leased. He won't sell them to you, they're leased. They put a senior community up the street and around the corner from me, right at the corner of a big intersection for 55 and older. And the big sign out in front says, lease your next home. So these are single family homes that you lease, you don't own. So this trend to ownership, away from ownership to access, I believe is going to affect everything and everybody sooner or later. So if you're in the ownership business, you may want to think about that and what that means to you. So after these first two, I'm going to stop, take a breath, take a sip of water, see if anybody has any questions before I continue on.
All right, everybody. Anybody have any questions? You can type them in. I don't see any questions, Al.
Okay, so we will continue on. Again, feel free to ask or discuss if you'd like. And what makes this all possible, this ownership and access, is the platform. So the iTunes platform or the Netflix platform or whatever, the Airbnb platform, all makes it possible to cut out that, not only the middleman, but go direct to the person that's going to let you use it, but not buy it. So it's very, very different than we've seen in the past. Another big trend is pricing models seem to be reversing. Very interesting comment. It says, technically, Amazon is the middleman between the manufacturer and the customer. So the question is, are Amazon's days numbered? That's a really interesting question. I would have to say, in the long run, Amazon will no longer have the merchandise in their warehouse. Amazon is building these huge warehouses, so they become the middleman with inventory. If I had to predict something, I would say that Amazon is going to move from strictly a platform, that platform in the middle, with no inventory, and the manufacturers will then ship direct. And they'll do that because we're getting better and better and better at overnight, same day, next day shipping. And it's all because of Amazon. Thank you very much for Amazon. Very thought-provoking question. Thank you for that. So reversing pricing models, let's take the example of long distance calls. Back in the day, mom and dad sat around the phone with the kids, and you called your Aunt Jane in the UK, and you waited. You called the long distance operator, and she said, "Okay, I'll make the call, but I will then call you back." And it was very, very expensive. So, dad would get the watch out, and mom would talk for a few minutes, and dad would talk for 3 minutes, and each of the kids got a couple of seconds to talk. and then you'd hang up. Today, we have unlimited calling, and it's free. Network television back in the day had 3 channels, at least in my part of the world, and it was free. Today, we get most of our stuff in streaming or cable TV, and it's usually pretty big dollars. I mean, we're talking 5 or 10, we're talking big dollars. Mass mailings we used to do via United States Postal Service. Today, it's email marketing that bypasses that. So we used to have to pay for the post office to mail stuff out. Today, it's free on the internet. So the pricing has completely changed. And if you ask yourself what has happened or is going to happen in your corner of the galaxy, your corner, you know, well, how might that affect you personally or your business? Just as something to think about. Along with that is the expanding points of sale. In the old days, Dad worked the counter, Mom worked the kitchen, and you checked out of the counter with your ticket. Retail, you'd go to the checkout line and stand in line and check it out. Grocery store, same thing, checkout line. Airlines, car, hotel, you'd go to the ticket counter. So you want to go on a trip, you go up to the airline counter, you get your ticket, you check in at the airline counter. In your car, you go to the rental car company, the hotel, you go to the hotel front desk to check in. Today, all of that's going away. You bypass the ticket counter because you've got your boarding pass on your phone. You bypass the car rental counter because you've got your contract on your phone. You bypass the hotel front desk because you've got your key on your phone. So it's all done at a very different place than it used to be done. Yeah. So you've got now the other side of that, you got online ordering, you've got home delivery. In a lot of restaurants I go to, you pay at your seat on your phone, they give you your ticket, and you check the QR code, and bang, it's paid for online with a credit card. Say digital boarding pass, stuff delivers right to your door. Amazon, carry out, all of this is changing the way that point of sale is. And again, if you've got a business that requires some kind of point of sale, where is that going to be physically? And in your personal life, now the point of sale many times is your phone and you're sitting on your couch. That's actually the point of sale. You can order the pizza, pay for the pizza, it's delivered to your front door, already paid for. So it's just changing the way we think about points of sale. And people like National Cash Register, NCR, have really struggled because no cash registers anymore. Nobody has cash. Nobody pays for anything in cash. We don't need cash registers. So it's a very changing world that we live in. Something else that's really interesting to me is adoption curves. An adoption curve, if you look at the left-hand side, that nobody has bought any, but at some point in time, it kind of catches on. And everybody says, oh, I want one of those. It just takes off like a rocket. Whoop. And the point at which it reaches 50%, that means half of the population is using that product or service, is that the measurement of that adoption curve. And then pretty soon it keeps going, but pretty soon everybody's got one or everybody's done it. So it's reached almost everybody. What's happening is these curves used to be long and slow and flat. Today they're going faster and faster and faster and faster. So the trend, in order to catch it early, you've got to be watching it very, very early. Down here, if you caught it somewhere here at the 25% point, you had years and years and years of life to worry about that. Today, if you miss that, you miss the iPhone 5, the iPhone 6 is out before you get to the store. Let's look at this and see what this really it means, what has been happening. So if you look at the railroad, when they put the railroad in, because you needed to have the railroad tracks, and that whole infrastructure took 70 years before half of the population of the US has ever ridden a train. Same with the washing machine. You had to build them, but to run it, you had to have electricity. So that means a whole infrastructure of electricity in order to run the washing machine. And that took 50 years in the US for that to happen. The telegraph, you had to put telegraph poles and lines and run it all over the place. And maybe you've got a telegraph station, but unless the other end of it has an equal telegraph station, you can't send a telegram. That took 40 years. The pioneer behind that was Western Union. Running water processing station, pumping plant, 35 years. You had to have the pipes go to your house. A lot of homes were built, didn't have running water. Only the newer homes got running water. So then you have to retrofit the older ones. The airplane took 35 years before people flew on an airplane, 30 years for the automobile. Black and white television. Again, you had to have the transmission stations, had to have the talent. A lot of the stations were not on the air 24/7. They were only on maybe from 6 in the morning to 10 at night. Then they'd go dark. You'd have the test pattern. Color television took about 10 years for half the people had a color TV. But again, the infrastructure was already there with the TV stations. They just had to transmit in a compatible color with black and white. The internet took 15 years, the cell phone 10, the tablet 5, social media 5, and now some of the new phone technology takes 18 months or 2 years. It just rapidly going. So if you're in a business that relies on the changes in things that are happening, rely on these technology adoption curves, you need to be looking out a lot sooner, expecting things to come and go a lot faster. And the emerging experience economy. You look back in our history at the US, we're an agricultural or agrarian economy. Everybody lived on a farm. Slowly, we became an industrial economy. Everybody started moving to the cities. What you're seeing now in China is that move to industrialization. They're moving everybody into the big, huge, enormous mega cities in China. We have been slowly, because we can't compete industrially, we've become a service economy. So you ask yourself, in terms of trends, what might be the next economy? What's coming down the pike? And there's some thinkers at Case Western Reserve University here in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, that think that experience is where people are going to place their value. And that's what the new economy is. And that businesses will differentiate themselves not on product, not on service, not on cost, but on the experience you have in acquiring, using, and disposing of that product. And some crazy thinkers are starting to think that some products, that more and more and more products will always be returned to the manufacturer. They will always be recycled. Everything. So nothing you keep because you don't want it, you don't own it, goes back to the original manufacturer. And it's the experience you have in that process that matters. The forerunner in the experience economy is clearly Walt Disney with Disney World and Disneyland, and the experience you have, because you pay a ton of money for a 3-day pass to Disney World and you walk home with nothing for that money. If you want a pair of ears, you pay for it. So that experience is what you get, and that's all you get for the money you pay for that 3-day pass. So that's the experience that's I believe, that others believe is going to be what's going on in our economy. Again, as I said, back in the day, we valued price, then utility, then convenience. Today, very much convenience, given home delivery on just about everything. But what does that mean in terms of the experience economy in the future? I think about that. I can't really get my hair cut without going to the barber. And that's a whole experience. Ladies that go to the beauty shop, that's a whole experience. In going there and getting your hair done, your nails done. My wife goes, gets her pedicure, manicure. That's a whole experience of pampering oneself. What does that mean in terms of the future, in terms of this experience economy? So again, it's something to think about, whether that impacts your personal or business life. It's something to really consider. And last but not least, I can't not talk about electric cars and what that means. To start with, the internal combustion engine has over 2,000 moving parts. To make it run, you got to go to gas station. The cost to fill up my tank of gas for 300 miles, give or take, is well in excess of 25 bucks. My tires get about 60,000 miles, and the lifespan of my vehicle is, at best case, 300,000 miles. And the oil and gas industry thrives on internal combustion engines, internal combustion cars. When you think about an electric car, and more manufacturers are getting into the electric car, and some have declared they won't build combustion engines after 2030. Electric car engine has 18 moving parts. The question has come up.
There is a question here.
Let me answer that towards the end.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I think I do want to answer that. So I haven't forgotten you, Carla. I want to put that at the end. So the electric car has 18 moving parts. So no longer do we need the mechanic tearing into your 2,000 part engine to fix it. You've got 18 moving parts. My wife has an electric car. We charge at home. Her cost to fill up her 300-mile electric car is about $2.50. Now, electricity in Northeastern Ohio is very cheap compared to other parts of the world, but think about that. It's about 1/10 the price of a car. The tires they talk about being 500,000 mile tires. There's no reason why her car won't run for 1 million miles. Don't need to change the oil, just change the tires. Doesn't need gas. And that industry is now totally dependent on battery technology and the battery industry. So it's a huge change. So if you're in the gas station business, you might want to think that maybe you ought to be in the electric fill-up station business. If you're in the engine repair business, you might want to think that that may not be the best place to be long term. And again, these are trends. These are long-term things. Not suggesting that people are going out of business tomorrow or the next day, but long term, if you're not thinking about this, and Laura, I still believe that buggy whips are coming back. And if we have with that kind of mentality, Laura and I are going to starve to death in the short run, because I don't think buggy whips are ever coming back. I don't think buggies are coming back.
No.
And so there's whole industries that are going away. It's interesting. In the year 1900, London, the city of London, had a study conducted to understand what they were going to do with all of the horse manure that was generated in the city. And they projected, I forget the number of thousands of tons of horse manure they projected were going to be created in London in the year 2010 and 15. And they completely missed the fact that the internal combustion engine car just might overtake the horse and buggy, which it did. And they completely missed that trend. And so that whole infrastructure to get rid of horse manure was wasted. Fast forward to 1980, a very large electronics communications company commissioned a study by a world-renowned management consulting firm to predict the number of cell phones that were going to be needed in the world. The consulting firm in 1980 came back and said, we don't believe that there will be more than 1 million cell phones in the world. We just can't believe the technology will be there and that people will embrace them. So we're predicting 1 million. That company, that is no longer in existence, by the way, bet on something else besides cell phones. They missed that trend, didn't understand the trend, because as we know today, there's how many hundreds of millions of cell phones in the US. And the market for cell phones, because we replace them every couple of years, is enormous. So they completely missed that. So again, the value of trends is to see what's coming down the pipe, prepare yourself personally, professionally, emotionally even, for what might be coming. Having said that, interesting to talk about trends you're seeing today, and I will answer questions. I will stick around until every question people have has been answered. So the question is, this individual offers a consulting service based on their professional experience. What's your projection for megatrends pertaining to consultants? Does it depend on the area of expertise? Well, of course, it depends on the area of expertise. As I think about management consulting, there are three fundamental kinds of consultants. One are the experts, one are the analysts, and the others are the process consultants. From the medical profession, the expert is the EMT or the brain surgeon. The process consultant, the analyst is the lab technician that takes x-rays. We take blood samples and we analyze that and tell you what you should do. And then the process are the physical therapist side of the business. So I think because of the internet, obtaining expertise is getting easier and easier. So I think that corner of the market is certainly something to be concerned about, especially at the lower levels. If you've got very, very complex processes or complex problems, I think there'll be the need for humans. But with artificial intelligence, I don't know. I'm not so sure. In terms of the analytical consultants, as the power of computing and the power of AI continues to just grow beyond people's expectation, again, I'm not sure if that's, at least in some corners, not in danger. And do I really need to go to a physical therapist, or can I do it at home, and can I learn what I need to do on the internet? So I'm just wondering if those are in jeopardy. Now, having said that, coming back to the concept of the experience economy, if what the consulting firm offers is a unique experience in whatever it's doing, that I think is the place that I would be leaning, is what is my client's experience in working with me as a consultant? What is that experience that cannot be duplicated on the internet? So coming back to my barber, I would assume that sooner or later I'm going to be able to cut my hair at home with my home haircut device. But that doesn't replace going to the barbershop and chatting with a bunch of guys about yesterday's football game. It just doesn't compete. Because, yeah, I get my haircut at my home haircut machine, but I don't have the experience of the barbershop and the other guys talking about the football game. So again, I think whatever your business is, you should seriously, or your personal is seriously looking at what is the experience that you're providing, because I think that's going to be one of the major differentiators in the future.
All right, everybody, who else has some interesting questions?
All questions are interesting.
That's right.
We've had some very thought-provoking ones today. You make me think.
That didn't come out right. What do you think? I have to ask you this, Al. What do you think? Because I have personal experience with lithium batteries. What are your thoughts with these electric cars, and will they just advance the batteries and make them safer if electric cars are becoming more popular?
I think there is a emerging battery technology that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
That will replace lithium ion.
Huh.
That will have much more capacity. It will be much safer. It will charge faster. I'm not willing to go. I can go to the gas station and fill up my car in about 3 minutes. I'm not willing to sit there for 20. If I could fill my electric car up in 3 minutes, but that requires a much different battery technology, because currently, the faster you charge a battery, the hotter it gets.
Boy, that's the truth.
So there'll be a new technology we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
I mean, lithium ion was a twinkle in people's eye 20 years ago. Now it's the technology for batteries. You know, the lead acid battery in your old 52 Chevy was hot technology back then. So some of the new rechargeable technology hadn't even been dreamed of back then. So the human spirit always seems to overcome problems and solve problems and figure it out, because necessity is always the mother of invention. So what I'm saying, I think we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The oil and gas industry is predicting doom and gloom for lithium ion batteries because the lithium is not an infinite supply. Well, they're right in that sense, but they're wrong in the sense that that's the only technology, because some brilliant inventor is going to come up with the XYZ technology battery that's cheaper to build, charges faster, holds a charge longer, has more charge capability per pound. Somebody's going to come up with that, and they won't need lithium ion anymore.
Hmm.
And if you look at the history of batteries, that's exactly what's happened. We've progressed along that spectrum from the old lead acid batteries in your car that if you spilled the acid, you'd burn a hole in your clothes,
Mm-hmm.
to now the stuff that's inside of your cell phone. It's a fraction of the weight, but the cell phone, one charge, at least for me, goes 2-3 days in that teeny little space.
2 or 3 days, Al. You got to use your phone more. Oh, somebody said, Dan said sodium ion. Interesting.
Okay. See, there you go. So watch folks for sodium ion.
Okay, you may want to visit this later. Please forgive me. Just wondering, with the chart that shows the time to adoption by the masses, should the chart showing acceleration, the one on the right, should the graph look more like a hockey stick versus a lazy S? Huh.
The hockey stick implies a much longer time to it catching on. The thing that adoption curves turn on
Unknown
is,
caller.
pardon?
Sorry, that was me.
Oh, what adoption curves turn on is, when does that magic thing happen that everybody catches it at once? It could be a hockey stick, but I suggest the handle is going to be really short, because things are going to catch on a lot faster. People adopt technology a lot faster. As the younger generation grows up with technology and is more comfortable with adopting it. And my mother wouldn't touch a computer. I mean, literally would not actually touch the physical keyboard. Mom's long gone, but that, I think, as the younger generation comes on, we're going to find that they're going to adopt things much faster. But then, if you think I'm reading out of my crystal ball and I speak truth, be really careful of that, because my crystal ball is no better than yours.
All right, anybody else have some questions? All right, Al, I think this is like you said, very thought-provoking. I like it.
Okay. Glad to do it. I always have fun when I do it. I always get good questions. Everybody have a wonderful day. Today's Thursday. You have a great weekend. And if you're in Ohio, eastern Ohio, stay dry. If the sun is out, go enjoy it.
All right, everybody, you'll get an email with the slides later today from me. So have a great day. Thank you.
Till next time.